Weston McKennie, who just left to go join Leeds in the Premier League. And Juve lost 2-0 to Monza, who just got recently promoted from the second division in Italy.
No, Milan. So, Milan won. He was part of this.
Gooch was part of it. There
2010 to 2011, Milan.
Dang.
Did he actually play? Did Gooch play in any games for Milan?
I don't think he did play any games.
Yeah, I think he got hurt, and when he was available, they didn't go with him. But
yeah.
But Weston McKennie, he's now in England. He's at Leeds. It's all popping off. Very excited to see how he's going to perform. Do you think Jesse Marsch starts him right away? Charlie Davies.
Yes, because he's I do, because he's been playing. This isn't a player who's not fit, not in form, or is coming out of shape. He's playing consistently with Juve in Serie A. So I think he's going to play right away. I don't know if he's going to start right away, but he's definitely going to be playing, I think, in the first game.
Yeah, they play Nottingham Forest this Sunday, so that'll be a game to watch. That kicks off at 9 a.m. Eastern time. They play Manchester United next Wednesday, and then Manchester United again following Sunday. Everton just got Sean Dyche in, so they're going to be a little bit more difficult to break down with Frank Lampard out. You got Southampton, Chelsea, Brighton, Wolves. Like, there's no easy games from here on out as they just scrape right above the relegation zone. Heath, what should our expectations be of Weston McKennie, especially for the first few weeks?
I mean, that's the thing about Weston that I like, is that if you asked me about 6 or 7 of our best 11 in our national team, I would give you specific leagues where I think they could do best. But where I see Weston, he can play anywhere on any. He can be a contributor on any team. The downside to that is I don't think Weston can be the star on Leeds, right? I think he can be another guy that helps, and maybe it is, and they are a very data-driven club, that it is the incremental gains that they need to keep them in the league or to get a little bit better, right? They have not the XG, but like the next generation of data and insights. That's basically like he can get us X, Y, and Z over a season, which can increase our point totals, like that type of level. He is that kind of contributor, right? In terms of balls won, turnovers, like setting up attacks. And so I think he can be a huge contributor to this team, a starter in this team, obviously. But again, it's hard because I don't, outside of maybe a couple of set pieces, you're not going to see his name on the headlines, I don't think, in terms of like his contributions over the next couple of months. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I'm kind of curious. I just want to make sure that for our audience, though, just so they understand that there is a transitional period. He's playing a completely different style, playing in a different league, and there is an adaptation process that I think needs to happen as he starts to understand where he needs to move and how he needs to move within what Jesse Marsch wants. Now, I think it's going to be easier because he's around players that he's familiar with Tyler and Brendan, and I don't think he's ever worked with Jesse before, but hopefully that transition will be very smooth. All right, let's move it over to Luca de la Torre. Got the start in Spain for Celta de Vigo, and he assisted Iago Aspas, who I absolutely love. That player dominates for Celta. A 1-0 win. And
he's had a few starts now, which is nice.
And yeah. He had a 4-4-2, and he's playing on the left side of that 4-4-2. But it looks like they like him to pinch in a little bit and be more central when he can. That said, I love it. I love that he's getting minutes. I love that he's contributing. Charlie Davies, this is a good sign for an American in midfield in Spain.
You got that right. I think our midfield, though, is just so deep. So you're trying to figure out, going into this next one, a player like, Richie Ledesma, who I think deserves an opportunity to get called in and see what he can do. Now that Ernie Stewart's going to PSV, maybe we get an opportunity to see him. I just feel like that there's so much depth that if you don't start playing consistently and contributing, it's going to be very hard to get called in. And I think we're going to get to that point once we do have a national team manager. The only way you do get called in was similar to how we were back in the day. Not only do you have to be playing, you have to be in form and producing.
Or play at Leeds.
Or play at
Leeds. That helps. Yes.
So I'm excited. I just think that when you have more players playing in Serie A and La Liga and in the English Premier League, it's just going to make the overall unit that much stronger.
Jimmy, do you think critical mass, when we think about almost reaching that point, right? If so many players playing a big club, do you think critical mass it will be represented in our best 11, or in the fact that Like our depth is now, we've got a player playing at a good club and he can't get a call up because of course he can't, because there's 3 players in front of him that are also at big clubs. Like, do you think critical mass is like, hey, our best 11 is, at a certain level, or is mass based on the fact that, like, we talked about Areola still being valuable. We talked about Kellen Acosta, but we know that there's there's a gap between Kellen Acosta and Tyler Adams. That's I think is pretty significant, right?
Yeah,
I want to see Kevin Paredes too. I mean, that's for sure. Someone who's just starting to come along in
all
the
of
Bundesliga.
our best players are wingers. This is a problem, guys. We need these.
Well,
guys
that's
to come
there's something about De La Torre then, because I think that, to use him as an example, he's a contrast to the midfielders that we do have. There's no one that settles the game like he does in the same way. Musah brings some incredible gifts, and I'm going to talk about Musah here in a second, because Gennaro Gattuso, his coach at Valencia, just got sacked, and I wonder how that's going to impact Musah moving forward. They lost to Real Valladolid this a couple days ago, and he gets sacked. But I'll give a shout out to Gattuso. He's been on the Musah train from the get go.
Yes,
and put him in a good spot to actually attack a little bit more, be higher up the field. And I think that's really allowed Yunus to take another step in his development. So I'm hopeful that whoever comes in is thinking the same thing about Yunus. And I don't know how you can't. He seems so undeniable to me, his talent. But you never know. Some managers just have their things, and maybe they want to go with more experience in that area of the field, and we'll see how that all plays out. We'll keep everybody posted, of course. But what I like about De La Torre is he does provide a little something different. And I think that contrast to your question, Heath, is going to be important in team building, so that we don't just have replications of the same guy that can already do a certain thing. Can they bring a little bit something different? That's why I think the left back spot is still somewhat open. Now, Antony's got it, of course, and he's been good, and he continues to get better with Fulham.
He's getting linked with Man City now.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Oof.
Well, now with Joao Cancelo going to Bayern, they have an option and room to bring in somebody that's good at attacking. When you're at City, you really don't have to defend, right? You have the ball 90% of the time, and Antony would fit in great in that particular system. But I still think there's room for a guy that can hit a deep cross or a cross from deep and has some different characteristics to Antony, so that we have that. If we play an opponent that is like the Netherlands, sitting back, taking away that space in behind, especially out wide, we have somebody that is just excellent at dropping dimes into the back post, or just can hit wherever they're so pinpoint in their crosses. And we don't have that either. When we see the Jonathan Gomez's, John Tolkien to a certain extent, I didn't see any of that. And I think that's just an example. And I think De La Torre is a contrast as well. Heath, you want to chime in?
I mean, I was just thinking, I got caught up on Chuck talking about Antony to Man City. I mean, that's a big jump for where he's at, and I'm super excited about it. But like, when I think about it, I wasn't hot on Zinchenko when he got to City, and then you watch him over time, you're like, man, that guy is
is a baller,
And then you watch him more and more, and like
player.
you see that him like kind of come in as a young player, and you're like, is it really like, because he wasn't a big City name, and then you see him kind of just rise, and you're like, man. Quality on the ball, technical ability, passing ability, speed and transition, like all those types of things. Antony has the has the potential in a lot of those spaces, but I still think that he's a little bit raw and rough. But again, we got to push our players into those environments to see can you go?
I would say Kyle Walker was pretty raw.
Good shout.
That's a good shout.
Before he went there, and I mean, John Stones, you could even say, was that way. They go to City under Guardiola, and I mean, they developed.
Gareth Bale was super raw as a left back before he went from Southampton, right, to Spurs. He was completely. I think he went for a couple million, and that was it, because he was unheard of and completely raw in that same regard, and then made a massive jump.
Okay, so let's talk about Florian Balogun. He ended up salvaging a point for Reims. Is that how I say it, Chuck? With a last minute equalizer versus PSG. So what is US
we
Soccer?
We got to get this guy.
Yeah, like what do we have to do to get this guy to commit? I assume the guys that he knows hopefully are sending him texts, through any chat messaging thing they want to use to get him to commit. But he seems to be the real deal and continues to prove that, Chuck, as our resident number 9. Your thoughts?
Yeah, we got to do whatever it takes to get him to commit. And I just feel if you're a player, and maybe your goal is to break into England and you believe in yourself, you're playing in Liga and scoring goals and showing that you got the quality, but you're never going to displace Harry Kane. It's just not going to happen. And Harry Kane has another 3, 4, 5 years of playing as the 9, and they only play with 1 9 as long as Gareth Southgate is there, then why wouldn't you come and play with your boy Yunus Musah?
Well, you're not going to displace anybody on a mid-table like playing for a mid-table team in Liga for the English national team. You know what I mean? Like I think it's amazing what he's doing, but like it's not like he's super young.
He's not even displaced Tammy Abraham, right? And Tammy Abraham didn't make the World Cup team, so there are levels, and I think if he came to the United States and played for us, it would be massive, and he could essentially maximize his potential playing internationally.